The Pittsburgh Steelers season may be over, but that doesn't stop them from making some major changes and signing 17 players to future reserve contracts. So, before I get more into it, and for all coverage of the Pittsburgh Steelers offseason, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers season ended Saturday. Well, just yesterday, on Tuesday, the Pittsburgh Steelers offseason began as they signed 17 players, already getting ready for the next season. Well, this is all 17 players the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed and an introduction to the team and about each player individually. So let's start off with the list of players the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed. They've signed defensive back Joshua Bledsoe. They've signed tackle Dylan Cook, defensive tackle Dominique Davis, linebacker Devin Harper, running back Evan Hull, defensive back Deshaun Jamison, wide receiver Brandon Johnson, guard Stephen Jones, linebacker Iku Lioto, receiver Lance McCutcheon, defensive back Kyler McMichael, guard Doug Nestor, linebacker Thomas Rush, running back Aaron Shamklin, defensive tackle Jacob Slade, quarterback Skylar Thompson, linebacker Julius Wilsholf. So, those are all 17 players the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed, and now I'll get into each player individually and a little bit about them to introduce you to them and introduce them to the team. So, let's start off at the top of the list. Let's start off with defensive back Joshua Bledsoe. Bledsoe was originally drafted by the New England Patriots in the 6th round of the 2021 NFL Draft, where he spent 3 seasons with the Patriots, and he appeared in 4 games. Bledsoe played college football at Missouri, where he appeared in 38 games, finished his college career with 121 tackles, 88 of them being solo stops, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 1 interception. So that's a little bit about him. Looking at offensive tackle, Dylan Cook. Cook placed on the injury reserve list by the Pittsburgh Steelers before the start of the regular season, so he was already with the team. And he returned to practice on October 17th. He was released on October 31st, then re-signed to the practice squad. Cook spent the 2023 season on the 53-man roster, but didn't see any game action. Cook also entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent, signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers following the 2022 NFL Draft. So, he spent the 2022 season on Tampa's practice squad, and he played football in college at Montana. Now, let's move over to defensive tackle Dominique Davis. Davis spent time on the Steelers practice squad as well during the 2024 season. Davis originally signed with the New England Jets as an undrafted free agent following the 2020 NFL Draft, where he was out of the NFL for basically 2 seasons before he signed with the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022. He spent time on the Bengals practice squad and active roster over the past 2 seasons, and looking at his college career, he played at North Carolina in Charlotte. So, the Steelers not only signed players, new players to the team, they've also brought some players back, like I just named in the last 2. And let's move over to linebacker Devin Harper now, because Harper spent time on the Steelers practice squad as well in 2024. Harper was originally drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the 6th round of the 2022 NFL Draft, where he played in 3 games for the Cowboys before being placed on injury reserve. In 2023, he appeared in 3 games for the Cowboys as well before being claimed off of waivers by the Cincinnati Bengals. He appeared in 6 games for the Bengals last season, and looking at his college career where he played football, he played at Oklahoma State. Now, let's move over to running back Evan Hull. Evan Hull, he was originally drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, in the 5th round of the 2023 NFL Draft, where he spent portions of the 2023 and 2024 seasons on the Colts practice squad. He appeared in 2 games, played in 2 games with 1 carry, 1 yard, and had 1 interception and 1 reception for 6 yards. He played college football at Northwestern. So, he had some big time carries for them at Northwestern, and he put up 2,417 yards and 18 touchdowns rushing. Looking at defensive back Deshaun Jameson, the Steelers signed him. Jameson spent time with the Steelers practice squad as well during the 2024 season. Jameson originally signed with the San Francisco 49ers when he went undrafted following the 2023 NFL Draft. He was also claimed off of waivers by the Carolina Panthers. He appeared in 15 games actually for the Panthers in 2023, where he started 2 of them. He finished the season with 5 tackles, 3 of them solo stops, 1 pass defense. So he does have some game experience in the NFL. But looking at his college career, he played at the University of Texas. And he also appeared in 60 games there. So he has experience. Now, moving over to wide receiver Brandon Johnson, because Johnson, once again, was on the Steelers practice squad. During the 2024 season, Johnson was elevated for the Week 7 game against the New York Jets and the Week 8 game against the New York Giants. Johnson originally signed with the Broncos as an undrafted free agent and following the 2022 NFL Draft. So the reason why he was signed to the team and elevated for those games, because of Russell Wilson. That connection he had with Russell Wilson in Denver, even though he really didn't appear and do much for the Steelers, the reason why he was on the team was basically Russell Wilson and his connection there. Looking at Johnson, he played college football at the University of Central Florida. Now, let's move over to guard Stephen Jones, because Jones originally signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars as an undrafted free agent following the 2024 NFL Draft. He played college football at Oregon, where he started all 14 games his senior season at right guard for an offensive line that led the nation with just 5 sacks allowed for the 2nd year in a row. Now, let's move over to linebacker Iku Leota, because he spent time on the Steelers practice squad as well this season. Leota was elevated for a Week 6 game against the Las Vegas Raiders and originally signed as an undrafted free agent for the Carolina Panthers following the 2023 NFL Draft. So, looking at Leota, he played college and he started 10 games at Auburn, and he also played at Northwestern as well. Now, let's move over to receiver Lance McCutcheon. Wide receiver Lance McCutcheon spent time on the Steelers practice squad again, following the theme of basically everyone who was signed. And McCutcheon originally signed with the Los Angeles Chargers as an undrafted free agent following the 2022 NFL Draft. He also spent time with teams like the Houston Texans, the New York Jets, on their practice squads as well. And in college, he played at Montana State and put up over 1,500 yards. To be exact, 1,741 yards on only 94 receptions. And had 13 touchdowns as well. And a rushing touchdown. Now, looking at defensive back Kyler McMichael, the Steelers signed him. McMichael originally signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he went undrafted following the 2022 NFL Draft. He spent time on the practice squads of the Buffalo Bills, and he was also with the Arizona Cardinals as well for a little bit. And looking at where he played college ball, he played at North Carolina. Now, moving over to Doug Nestor. Nestor spent time in the 2024 season with the Steelers practice squad. He originally signed with Minnesota Vikings following undraftedness in the 2024 NFL Draft. And in college, he went to West Virginia. Now, looking at linebacker Thomas Rush. Rush originally signed with the Tennessee Titans when he went undrafted in the 2023 NFL Draft. He spent the season on the Titans practice squad and was signed to a reserve and future contract following the season. Looking at where he played college ball, he played 58 games at Minnesota. Looking at running back Aaron Shamklin. Shamklin was on the Pittsburgh Steelers main roster for a lot of time. He was a guy who was on and off of it, going from practice squad to main roster, practice squad to main roster. And he actually appeared in some games for the Steelers, 3 games, where he had 6 carries for 17 yards. So he returns to the Pittsburgh Steelers, now on a reserve and future contract. And even prior to the Steelers, he was in the NFL with the Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys and the Colts. And looking at where he played college ball, he actually played at Harvard. Now, moving over to defensive tackle Jacob Slade. He spent time on the Steelers practice squad this season, 2024, and even last season, he was signed to a future and reserve contract. And Slade spent time on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad, and after he went undrafted in 2023. where he went to college was Michigan. Looking at linebacker, Julius Welshoff. Welshoff was signed originally by the Steelers and the team when he went undrafted in the 2024 NFL Draft. He spent time in the practice squad, and he started at defensive end for Charlotte in college, but he also went to college at Michigan as well. He is from Germany, and he's like a player who has an exemption in terms of if the Steelers signed him, they could have carried an extra player on the roster, 54 instead of 53, but they decided not to go that route. So, one player I left off of kind of introducing you to him is Skylar Thompson, because I'll talk more about him in a different video. I plan on making a different video about him, but just know that he's right now is basically the only quarterback under contract for next season for the Steelers, and that's why I'm going to make a video on him. Anyway, those are all 17 players the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed so far this offseason, and just to kind of introduce you to them, those are the little introductions to them. And just to let you know, those players are mostly never going to see the field for the Steelers in a regular season game unless they surprise and make the main roster. Those are more for the offseason and practice squad type of signings, just to give them some time on the roster. But if they show out, they could get game day elevations, maybe make a team on a different team. But those are just players that the Pittsburgh Steelers need in the building to help with practice, help with training camp, help with preseason, everything like that. And maybe some players the Pittsburgh Steelers see value in, maybe down the road, maybe not immediately. Some of these players were signed to the Steelers right now in terms of they've never been on the team before, but many of these players are also some returning guys who appeared in games for the team, or at least on the practice squad who they're used to. But anyway, these are players the Pittsburgh Steelers obviously like their work ethic and everything like that to bring them back or bring them in. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, this is the signings for the Steelers. The offseason has begun. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on each one of these signings and who are you most excited for to see them actually maybe appear in the preseason or just fight for a roster spot come next offseason. Well, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports, everything surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. I cover it, and I'll continue covering it. Just because the season is over doesn't mean that I'm done covering the Steelers. We still have the draft upcoming here shortly. Then we're going to have free agency, everything like that, or free agency and then the draft. We have all these things coming up for the Steelers. Then we have training camp. So the offseason is still filled with all Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. And just because the season's over doesn't mean I'll stop. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. And until the next video, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.